Setting up solar on a pre-existing RV electric setup can be a little complicated, so I decided I'd make you guys a little diagram and we can go about this step by step. Step 1 is the 240 watt sharp panel you guys saw me pick up a few episodes ago. Next up is our 20 amp MPPT solar charge controller, so that we can turn as much of the power as we can possibly get from our panel into usable 12 volt for our batteries. Then we got 3 deep cycle lead acid batteries, 2 150 amp hour and 1 120 amp hour, making our total battery bank 420 amp hours. Next up, on recommendation of our consulting electrical engineer, is a Xantrex amp hour meter. This meter allows us to monitor how many amps are coming into and leaving the batteries, and therefore will tell us how full they are in reality, as opposed to just measuring by voltage and measuring by the little panel that they give you with the solar charge controller. This method is a lot more accurate. Next up is our SunForce 1000 watt pure sine wave inverter. We decided to spend the extra money on a pure sine wave inverter because we have so many delicate electronics, and we also want to record audio from time to time and rather not have the buzzing noise. We hear it's also more efficient for a microwave, so if our microwave does in fact end up working out with the system, it will run more efficiently on a pure sine wave inverter than a modified sine wave inverter. Originally the van came with a 5 amp float charger. Now we're not even sure if that 5 amp charger works, so we disconnected it entirely. And instead we opted to get an external removable charger that we can use in much more flexible ways, by connecting it to our generator, by connecting it to a wall, by using it to boost our car battery, by using it to boost someone else's van, etc., etc. The options are limitless. This way we're not tied into one solution, and the inverter won't be trying to charge the batteries while running off the batteries. Lastly, on the suggestion of our electrical engineer, again, we decided to put a 20 amp DC circuit breaker between the solar charge controller and the batteries. This allows us to shut off the solar charge controller if we decide to do any work on it, and also while we're charging at night, for instance, we can disconnect the solar charge controller just so there's no issues. There shouldn't be, but just to be safe. Now this might look really clean, but the reality is we're working with a 20-year-old van with a pre-existing wiring setup that's already been modified a few times. So it was a lot messier and more complicated than we had originally planned. We also needed a solution that could house all of these electronics inside the van, but also have them vented. We did this by mounting a small 12 volt computer fan up to the old port for the 30 amp 120 volt cable that used to come out the side of the van. Now whenever the solar charge controller is charging, it will run this small fan and help pull all the air away from the batteries and away from the inverter and away from everything that's creating heat and hydrogen and venting gases and etc. etc. It's pulling it all out of the van. So this allows us to keep it safe while also keeping it in such a large space that we need to fit everything. Now by moving our battery bank inside the van, we've cleared up space for the generator. This allows us to run the generator there or remove it along with our battery charger to go run other battery systems, charge up other vehicles, anything we want to do with it. It's much more flexible. We found that with the system as it is, it doesn't need any extra power. We haven't had to run a generator. We haven't had to run battery connection from the alternator. So we're just going to leave it as is, try it out. If we find that the power isn't enough, we might do a connection with a solenoid from the front battery. But for now, it's running really, really well. Now, this system isn't the complete system, and it will change over time. We're looking at a lot of different options. So if you have any ideas, if you have any concerns, if you have anything you think that we can make our system better and more flexible for us, then please leave a comment. And I hope this helped. Good luck with your van solar system.